This Japanese artist, Rolowa, draws some of the most top-tier hair in the industry. So today we're gonna look at some of the techniques and philosophies behind how Rolowa draws hair. But not only that, we'll also be looking at another artist, Roha, which draws hair in a completely different style. Let's start with Rolowa. Roha. No, actually, Rolowa. Why do I pick people with similar names? Even I'm getting confused. Rolowa has a very graphical style in general, but with hair, it's just insane how simple and flowy it can get. Hair in Rolowa's works is almost never still. He likes to draw hair flying like this to emphasize movement and to make the piece more dynamic. It's like he turned off the gravity settings for the hair specifically. This is because Rolowa often thinks of hair as a device for the composition rather than an object. And hair is perfect for this role because of its flowy and shapeless nature. Also, it attaches to the head, so what else can be more convenient than this? Everything you do with hair, it leads back to the face, which is the focal point in most cases. You can see in these examples here how Rolowa directs you and my eyes with leading lines created from the hair in the piece.
In terms of rendering though, it's often very simple. Rolowa tends to use pretty strong lighting, so a lot of his shadow shapes are hard edge, but even within those shapes, he would do light gradients to give them more detail. The shapes themselves are simple and big. Rolowa does not hesitate on merging a lot of the shapes together to group the shadows. One thing that Rolowa also likes to use is strong complementary colors for different sides of the lighting.
For example, here on the left side, the lighting is mainly from the red ambient light from the environment, and the right side is lit by the white key light. You can still see some of the red coming through in the shadows though, because this shadow color here is slightly purple. The key to this graphical look is restraint. Don't overdo it and start adding lots of little effects. Keep the shape as simple as possible and don't break it up too much. The movement of the hair should be kept very elegant like this. Rolowa tends to have a lot of overlap on the hair strands, but he doesn't cross the lines like this. He instead just lets the shape continue on like this without a line breaking the shape up. To make this process faster, there's a trick in Photoshop that Rolowa uses where you can instantly outline the shape you're drawing, and he uses this mainly for blocking out the hair strands. This is the outer glow layer effect that you can access here. If you're using Clip Studio Paint, you can go to the layer properties panel here. If you can't see it, you can go to Windows and check layer properties. Then you click this little circle icon to enable the border effect. It's basically the same as outer glow in Photoshop, but with less control. You can adjust the thickness of the outline and the color of the line here. And there you go. Auto outline shapes for drawing hair super fast. Let's move on to the next artist, Roha. Roha emphasizes the realism in how hair behaves, the texture, and the way hair interacts with the environment and the character's body. Okay, so if we want to draw realistic hair like Roha, we must first understand how the structure of the head works. We can roughly divide hair into three parts: the front hair, middle hair / side hair, and back hair. Roha also draws from big shapes to small, as you should with everything in art. But for hair specifically, you want to start with identifying where the roots attach to the head, then extend the length from there. Start with big banana shapes extending from the top of the head, and then slowly add little strands breaking up from the main branch. This makes your drawings much more convincing rather than having strands appearing from thin air and flying all over the place. The front hair interacts the most with the face and will generally be the shortest in a lot of hairstyles. Artists usually use a combination of front hair and a side hair to frame the face, like in these examples. So for the lines, it would be thicker than the rest of the hair in general for ambient occlusion. And in Roha's case, there's also a gradient at the tip of the front hair to blend the skin and hair colors together. Anime things. Now, is to simulate the fact that front hair is generally less dense and see-through. The middle hair usually interacts the most with the face and the body in general, at least when you're doing front angles. Roha places a lot of emphasis here on how the side hair interacts with the character, like the hair draping over her shoulder here, or here where the character is playing with her hair. And then there's the back hair, which is usually used to frame the entire character and contributes to the silhouette the most. Interesting back hair shapes can definitely make the silhouette of the character more appealing. As the hair gets longer, they tend to break up into smaller strand groups like this, so it can get pretty complex very soon. To manage this, try to follow the big, medium, small rule and have your strands crossing over each other like this. Once again, layers are OP here, so make sure to use them. When the hair is flying like this, Roha also likes to separate the back hair from the character's body more by adding a light gradient. And you can see Roloa also does the same thing here. Anime things. For free falling hair, a lot of people recommend it to think of hair like ribbons, where there's a front side and a back side, and when it rotates, it crosses like this. The rendering for Roha's hair is a little more complex compared to Roloa, and I can't find any recordings of Roha's process, so we just have to work with what we got here. Let's zoom in. The hair here looks pretty complex, but it's actually pretty simple. Just by looking at the final product, I'm guessing there are 3 shadow layers here. There's one near the lines, which I guess is for ambient occlusion. This is usually paired with a colder color compared to the base hair color. It also makes the transition from the line to the hair less jarring. On top of that, Roha colored the lines to make the entire illustration look more cohesive and realistic. There is a very soft gradient that goes across the entire hair shape for the overall light to shadow transition or light fall off. And finally, I don't know if you can actually see this in the video, but there are some subtle shadows here where the hair is curving. This kind of creates a light and shadow sandwich effect on the hair like this. And then for the light, there is one for the main light source. Roha likes to just overexpose the hair most of the time, and the very standard anime hair highlights that go across the hair like this. Now, I know hair is important, but I would argue that the eyes are even higher on the list of things you should draw well. That's why you should check out this video here where I explain how to stylize eyes in 5 different levels. Okay, bye!